There is a moment that happens every single night, and if you are over 60, there is a good chance you know exactly what it feels like. You pull the covers up, you settle into the pillow, the room is quiet, your body is tired, and then you notice it. That familiar coldness starting at your toes, creeping up through your feet, refusing to go away no matter how long you stay still. You shift your legs, you tuck your feet deeper into the blankets, you wait, and still, the cold stays. It is not painful, it is not dramatic, but it is there, every single night, quiet and persistent, like a small reminder that something in your body is not quite working the way it used to. Most people over 60 have learned to live with this. They keep an extra blanket at the foot of the bed. They wear thick socks to sleep. They wait it out. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, they accepted cold feet at night as simply part of getting older. Something you manage, something you adjust to, not something you solve. But here is what almost no one talks about, and what took me years of working with older patients to fully understand. Cold feet at night after 60 are not just a comfort issue. They are a circulation signal. And the way most people try to handle them, including some of the most well-meaning habits, may actually be making the underlying problem worse without anyone realizing it. There is something specific happening inside the body after 60. A gradual, quiet shift in how blood moves to the extremities once the sun goes down. And plain water before bed, something millions of people drink every night thinking they are doing the right thing for their health, may be interfering with the body's ability to hold warmth in the feet and hands during the very hours when it matters most. I want to be clear about something before we go any further. This is not about fear. This is not about a hidden danger lurking in your bedside glass. What I am going to share with you today is about understanding a specific physiological change that happens with age, and about one simple addition to your nighttime routine that may help your body do what it is already trying to do, just more effectively. Something warm, something natural. Something that cultures around the world have used for centuries, and that modern research is only now beginning to fully explain. If you have ever gotten into bed and thought, "Why can I never seem to warm up down there?" this conversation was made for you, and I promise you, by the time we are done, tonight will feel different. If this is the kind of content that matters to you, honest explanations, practical habits, real information for people who want to age well and feel comfortable in their own bodies, subscribe to this channel right now. We are here every week with exactly this. Now let me show you what is actually happening inside your body after 60, and why the solution may be simpler than you ever imagined. The first thing to understand is that what you feel in your feet at night is not random. It is not bad luck. It is the result of a very specific physiological process, one that changes significantly as we get older, and one that most people have never had explained to them in a way that actually makes sense. When you are young, your body is remarkably good at managing temperature. Your circulatory system responds quickly and efficiently. Vessels open when you need warmth, narrow when you need to conserve it, and the whole process happens almost automatically without you ever noticing. But after 60, that system begins to slow down, not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually, quietly, in ways that accumulate over time into exactly the kind of nightly discomfort you have been experiencing. The blood vessels in your legs and feet, the small ones, the capillaries, the tiny pathways that carry warmth all the way to your toes, begin to lose some of their elasticity. Think of a garden hose that has been outside through years of hot summers and cold winters. It still works, but it does not flex the way it used to. It takes more pressure to move water through it efficiently. The same thing happens to the tiny vessels in your extremities as the years pass. They still function, but they respond more slowly. They open less fully. And at night, when your body naturally shifts into a lower energy mode and circulation to the extremities decreases across the board, those already slower vessels have an even harder time delivering enough warmth to keep your feet comfortable. This is not a disease. This is not a diagnosis. This is aging, normal, universal, and almost never explained in a way that connects the dots between what is happening biologically and what you are actually feeling every night in your own bed. And that disconnection is exactly why so many people spend years adjusting and compensating instead of understanding and responding. Now here is where it gets interesting, and where most people are unknowingly working against themselves every single night. When the body prepares for sleep, it goes through a process called thermoregulation. Your core temperature drops slightly. That is actually how the brain knows it is time to sleep. But here is the part that almost nobody explains. For that core cooling to happen properly, the body needs to push warmth outward. toward the skin, toward the hands, toward the feet. This outward flow of warmth is what allows the core to cool down, and it is directly tied to how quickly you fall asleep and how deeply you sleep through the night. Researchers studying this process, including teams at the Sleep Foundation and published work in the Journal of Physiological Anthropology, have found something quietly remarkable. People who have warmer feet at the moment they try to fall asleep tend to fall asleep significantly faster and stay asleep longer than people whose feet remain cold. The feet, it turns out, are not just passengers in this process. They are one of the body's primary temperature release valves. When they are cold and constricted, the whole system struggles. Think of it like a radiator in an older home. The radiator is supposed to release heat, allowing the room to find its comfortable temperature. But if the valve is partially closed, if the flow is restricted, the room never quite settles. The system keeps working, keeps trying, but never fully arrives where it needs to be. That is exactly what is happening for millions of older adults every single night. The body is trying to initiate sleep, trying to regulate temperature, trying to deliver warmth to the extremities, and running into resistance it did not have 30 years ago. And this is where plain water before bed enters the picture in a way that surprises most people. Drinking cold or room temperature water in the hour before sleep does several things inside the body. It increases urine production, which many people over 60 already experience too much of at night. But beyond that, it introduces a thermal load that the body must process. And for someone whose vascular system is already working less efficiently, that processing requires redirecting resources away from peripheral circulation. In plain terms, the body uses energy and vascular capacity to handle that plain water, and some of what gets deprioritized is exactly the peripheral warming your feet are waiting for. This does not mean water is harmful. Water is essential. Hydration matters profoundly, especially as we age. But the timing, the temperature, and what you add to that water in the hour before sleep can make a significant difference in what your body is able to do once the lights go out. What the research increasingly points toward, and what I have observed over and over in people who have made this one small change, is that warm liquid with specific natural compounds before bed can do the opposite. Instead of adding a thermal burden, it can actively support the very process the body is already trying to complete. It can help the blood vessels relax. It can help warmth move more freely toward the extremities. It can help the feet reach the temperature the brain needs to see before it allows you to fall into real, deep sleep. You may have already guessed that one of those natural compounds is a spice, something that has been used for thousands of years across dozens of cultures, in Ayurvedic medicine, in traditional Chinese practice, in the kitchens of grandmothers who did not know the science but knew what worked. A spice that modern researchers at the National Institutes of Health and institutions like the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health have spent considerable time studying for its effects on blood vessels and circulation. Before I name it, I want you to notice something. If you are still here, if you have been listening this long, it is probably because something I said connected with something you have been feeling. Maybe you recognized the garden hose. Maybe you thought about how long it takes you to warm up at night. Maybe you realized that what you always thought was just a blanket problem might actually be something your body has been quietly asking for help with for years. That recognition matters. It means you are paying attention to your own body. And people who pay attention are exactly the ones who tend to actually make the changes that help. So let us keep going. Because what comes next is where this gets genuinely practical. Cinnamon. Not the kind you sprinkle on oatmeal without thinking. Not a flavoring. Not a nostalgic memory of your mother's kitchen, though it may be that too. Cinnamon, real cinnamon, used intentionally, at the right time, in the right form, contains a compound called cinnamaldehyde. And cinnamaldehyde does something inside the body that very few people are aware of, even though researchers at the National Library of Medicine and the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health have been studying it for years. It supports vasodilation. It helps blood vessels relax and open. And not just in the large vessels, in the small ones, the peripheral ones, the ones that run through your legs, your ankles, your feet, all the way to the tips of your toes. The very vessels that have been slowly losing their flexibility over the past decade, the ones that struggle to deliver warmth to your extremities when you lie down at night. Cinnamaldehyde works on the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, in a way that encourages those vessels to release, to soften, to allow blood to move more freely through them. What this means in practical terms is something you can actually feel. Many people who begin adding cinnamon to a warm drink before bed report noticing a gentle warmth that starts in the lower legs within 20 to 40 minutes. Not heat, not tingling exactly, just a quiet sense of circulation arriving somewhere it had been absent for a while, like a door opening in a room that had been closed for too long. I think about a woman I worked with some years ago, a retired school teacher from Ohio, 71 years old, who had been wearing wool socks to bed every night for 6 years. She said she had stopped even thinking about it. The socks were just part of the routine, like brushing her teeth. She had never connected the cold feet to anything beyond getting older. When she started the nighttime drink, warm water, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a small piece of fresh ginger, she told me that after about 2 weeks, she realized she had forgotten to put the socks on 3 nights in a row. She had not noticed because her feet had been warm enough without them. That is not a miracle. That is a body responding to the right signal. Now, cinnamon does not work alone in this. And that is actually important to understand, because this is bigger than one spice. The body's ability to maintain peripheral warmth at night is a system, and like any system, it responds best when you address more than one part of it at once. This is something that most people only address partially, which is why partial results are so common. There are 2 other elements that work alongside cinnamon in a way that the research supports clearly. The first is ginger. According to studies reviewed by the Cleveland Clinic and published in Advances in Nutrition, ginger contains compounds called gingerols and chogols that have a direct effect on peripheral circulation. They encourage blood flow outward toward the extremities and create a mild thermogenic effect, meaning they help the body generate and retain warmth in the tissues. Combined with cinnamon, ginger does not just add to the effect, it deepens it. The 2 compounds work through slightly different mechanisms, which means they reach different parts of the vascular system simultaneously. The second element is magnesium, and this one surprises people because magnesium is not usually the first thing that comes to mind when you think about cold feet. But according to the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements and multiple sleep quality studies, magnesium plays a crucial role in vascular relaxation. It helps smooth muscle in the blood vessel walls release tension. It supports the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your nervous system that governs rest, recovery, and the kind of deep, sustained circulation that happens when your body finally lets go of the day. Many people over 60 are mildly deficient in magnesium and have no idea because the symptoms are diffuse. Poor sleep, muscle tension, cold extremities, restless legs. Sound familiar? If you have been nodding along to any of this, if pieces of what I am describing match things you have been living with quietly for years, I want to pause here for a moment and be honest with you about something. What I have shared so far covers the foundation, the mechanism, the key compounds, the physiological logic behind why this works. And for many people, simply knowing this and applying it is enough to notice a real difference. But understanding the full picture of how nighttime circulation, vascular aging, sleep quality, and peripheral warmth connect, and how to address all of them together, not just one piece at a time, that is a different level of support entirely. If you want a complete, structured approach that goes beyond what any single video can cover, the link is in the description and pinned in the comments below. There is also a QR code visible on your screen right now if you are watching on a television. Just point your phone at it and it will take you directly there. The information is there now, and I encourage you to look at it before the night is over. What your body has been missing may be simpler than you think. Now let me show you exactly how to put this together. The ritual itself is simple. Warm water, 8 to 10 ounces, genuinely warm, comfortable to hold. Half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon stirred in. Ceylon cinnamon is preferable when available, as it is gentler for regular use, but regular cinnamon from your pantry is a reasonable starting point. Next, about a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, or a thin slice of fresh ginger root steeped for 3 to 5 minutes. Either form delivers the active compounds your vessels respond to. If the flavor is too strong at first, begin with less and increase gradually. For magnesium, magnesium glycinate taken alongside the drink is one of the most bioavailable and digestively gentle forms. If you already take magnesium in the evening, you are ahead. If not, a brief conversation with your doctor is worthwhile, particularly if you take other medications. A small amount of raw honey is optional, but meaningful. It adds trace minerals and makes the drink genuinely pleasant to consume. A habit you enjoy is a habit you actually keep. Drink this approximately 45 minutes to an hour before sleep. Give the compounds time to begin circulating. Then, when you get into bed, pay attention to what happens in your feet over the next 20 to 30 minutes. Many people describe it as a gradual softening, a release of tension they had not realized was there, warmth arriving quietly from the inside. One important note: this ritual is not a substitute for medical care if you have a diagnosed circulatory condition. If your cold feet come with pain, numbness, or skin changes, please speak with your doctor. What this addresses is the common, age-related vascular slowdown that affects the majority of people over 60 without underlying disease. If you have tried pieces of this before, warm baths, extra blankets, and found they helped a little but never enough, it is likely because you were addressing the symptom without reaching the system underneath. The full picture is what creates a real shift, and the link in the description and pinned comment takes you to a complete approach built around exactly that. Nighttime circulation, mineral support, and vascular comfort addressed together, not one piece at a time. The QR code is on your screen now if you are watching on television. Look at it before the night is over. One path leads to another night of the same. The other leads to finding out what changes when your body finally gets what it has been asking for. That choice is yours. Now let me bring this home. There is something I want to leave you with that goes beyond the drink, beyond any single ingredient. After 60, the body changes. That is not a failure. It is a new set of conditions, and new conditions respond to new signals. The people who age most comfortably are not the ones who pretend nothing has changed. They are the ones who pay attention and respond with small, consistent acts of care. Cold feet every single night are not a small thing. They interrupt sleep. They quietly erode the sense that the body is still cooperating. And when that erosion happens slowly enough, people stop noticing it as a problem and start accepting it as identity. Just the way I am now. It does not have to be that way. The body at 65, at 70, at 75 still responds, still adapts, still has the capacity to feel warmer and sleep more deeply when it receives the right support at the right time. Tonight, before you go to bed, you have something you did not have this morning. A reason, a mechanism, a ritual you can begin in the next hour with things you may already have in your kitchen. If this helped, if something clicked, hit the like button now and subscribe to this channel. Every week we bring honest, practical content for people who take their health seriously. And tell me in the comments, do you sleep with socks on? Have you noticed your feet getting colder over the years? I read every response. Share this with the specific person in your life who complains about cold feet or broken sleep. Not just anyone, that person you already thought of just now. Subscribe if you have not yet. The next video continues exactly where this one leaves off. This channel is for people who refuse to accept that discomfort is inevitable. That is who you are, and that is who we are here for.